Hello y'all, it's me again. Sorry it's been so long since I've done one of these videos. I've been watching a lot of movies lately. Summer finally started. I'm in Phoenix at the moment. I am working. I've been busy, and at the moment I still don't have my microphone. Again, for that I do apologize, but without wasting any more time, let's go straight into the catch-ups and let's talk about some movies, god damn it. Alrighty, so the first movie I want to talk about is The Bad Guys. Now, I've mentioned this in my Everything Everywhere Broke Me video, but I actually really enjoyed this movie. I went into it expecting just a DreamWorks film, not really knowing much about it. I knew about the animation style, which is what somewhat intrigued me, but as I was watching the movie, I noticed that the humor worked pretty well in the film, despite a few fart jokes and very dumb plot conveniences, especially one of the worst plot twists I've seen in a kid's movie. It does a great job at entertaining. It's cool, and it has sort of an edge to it that other kids' movies don't really tend to have. It's not as edgy as something like Shrek or even Spies in Disguise for that matter, nor is it anywhere as creative as those films, but it does a good job at parodying those heist movies and the bad guy wants to be the good guy. You've seen this with Megamind, you've seen it with Wreck-It Ralph, but this does a new approach to it, and with these anthropomorphic animals, yes, I'm talking about her. Oh my goodness. It just adds a lot of creativity to the story, and it's something that I've seen a few times that continues to entertain me upon rewatches. I really did not expect this to be that good, and who knows, I'll probably rate it something higher upon rewatch, but I think the score gives enough of what I took away from the film. That being said, it's very entertaining, and it is probably one of the most entertaining films I've seen all year, but I'm still gonna have to give it a 6 out of 10 just because it is still a kid's movie. It does still have those flaws, but again, this is no Godfather, this is no Citizen Kane. It's a fucking kid's movie, and for that, it's actually pretty good. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So this was an interesting watch because I saw it twice. The first time I saw it, I thought it was all right. Like, I enjoyed some aspects to it. I liked what Raimi did with it. I liked that it was fucked up. I liked that it was bloody. I liked that there was some kind of stakes towards it. But then upon rewatch, I realized that not only is the beginning very lacking, but just the entire film itself is kind of ridiculous and is not really something I want to revisit anytime soon. It is nowhere near some of the worst Marvel movies I've seen, but there's not really anything to it that makes me want to rewatch it. Yes, it's unique in its presentation, but the story and the villains and the overall approach to it still feels like a Marvel movie. And for a lot of people that could work, but for me, it just felt kind of lackluster. And I really wanted something more out of it, but it seems like Sam Raimi did all he could with it. And for that, I appreciate it somewhat. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I'm very neutral on it. And for that, I'm going to have to give it a 5 out of 10. We Are All Going to the World's Fair. So this is a very interesting film in the sense that I knew absolutely nothing about it going into it. After watching it, I overall enjoyed it. I think upon rewatches, knowing what it's about, it'll impact me a lot more. But this film overall deals with the theme of loneliness in the internet digital age. And it does so by going over the trends of online challenges and how communities are made based off of those challenges and the overall anonymity that comes with being online. And it just has many themes that feel very relevant to this day, and it does a great job at presenting those themes. I will say the film felt very slow, and at moments I was trying to understand why certain things were being shown for the overall purpose or story of the film. There are some moments that just felt a little weird or out of place, but it adds to the overall eeriness and the weirdness of the film and trying to figure out what's going on, what is it about. And while I initially thought this was going to be some sort of a horror thriller, it's really more of a drama, and it's one of the most unique experiences I've had this whole year watching a film, and it's definitely made me think a lot after watching it, which is what the film achieves to do, and it ended up doing so. I feel like this is going to get better on rewatches, but for now, I'm going to have to give it a 6 out of 10. I'd say if this sounds intriguing to you, or if you just want to go into a film with a new experience, it's really short, go ahead and check it out. I would recommend it. And yeah, that's what I thought about We Are All Going to the World's Fair. Oh, it's Morbin time, baby. Woo! So Morbius was not good. So Morbius was good. I think the whole world knows that at this point. It's a masterpiece. It's tonally consistent. It's kind of gross to not watch at points, but compared to other films like The New Mutants, the old Suicide Squad, and even like Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, it has nothing on those movies. I'd consider my experience of this film or my enjoyment to be on par with the original Venom. I feel that Morbius, not only from the meme that's surrounding the internet of its remarkable existence, but just the fact that Jared Leto was remarkable really adds to like sort of the masterpiece that this movie has become. It's crazy, it's weird, and once you watch it, it's not bad nonetheless. I would say this is one of the most surprising experiences I've had all year. Again, in no way is it bad, but it wasn't bad, which is what makes the film a masterpiece and entertaining. And for that reason, I'm going to have to give Morbius a 10 out of 10, but one of those enjoyable 10 out of 10s that I'm infamous for giving. Jackass 4.5. So there's not much I want to say about this because I feel that I've already spoken about Jackass forever, or at least I hope I have. But I enjoyed the Jackass films quite a bit, and this was another one of those that it's a 4.5. It's a 0.5 Jackass movie for sure. It shows all the deleted content. It sort of has a more documentary approach to it. But out of all the 0.5 films, this is probably the one I enjoyed the most, not only because the footage works in its favor, but I just laughed my ass off watching this film that was released on Netflix. And again, it just reminds me of why I like the Jackass movies and why they were so special to me, why they are still so special to me. It's crazy to think that these guys to this day were still doing some of this crazy stuff. And I don't know, as funny as these guys are, I would personally be terrified to be on these sets. But the fact that this footage exists and that it's out there to the world is incredible. And for that, I'm going to have to give it a 7 out of 10, which is what I rate all the other Jackass films minus the 0.5s. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. So this is one of those movies I really enjoyed when I first saw it, and I'd say I still enjoy it, but there's some bits to it that really annoyed me or just had me not knowing how to feel, sort of a sour taste in my mouth. Specifically with the animation, there are bits where it makes fun of its animation, and the whole Chip thing is he's supposed to be 2D and Dale's supposed to be 3D, even though Chip is more of a 3D animation with a 2D cell shade look to him. They just lowered the frame rate, but even when he's holding certain objects, it doesn't match the frame rate that he's moving in. It just feels off in a way. But that aside, how's the film? It's a reference movie. And I thought I would hate it, and I feel like I should, but for some reason I didn't, because while something like Ralph Breaks the Internet, which y'all know what I think about that movie, something like Ralph Breaks the Internet is almost like Disney flexing everything they own. This sort of feels more grounded, if that makes sense. This feels more like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which I really enjoyed. And rather than celebrating its IPs, it's overall acknowledging the animation aspect to the industry, which I think was really cool. But again, at the same time, it really is like remember movie where it's like, remember this, remember that. Here are all these references. Ugly Sonic, here are all the Seth Rogens. And for a second, the initial shock is funny, but I have to put aside my enjoyment of the film and really think of does this work as a movie if there wasn't all this referential humor? And really it doesn't. So initially I gave it a 7 out of 10. I might re-rate it to a 6. I don't know, I'll probably have to watch it again, but despite my flaws with it, I can say that I overall enjoyed it, especially the initial shock of some of the references in this stuff. But this is something that I would not like to celebrate, that I'm somewhat celebrating, and I don't know how to feel about that, but maybe that says something about the enjoyment that I had of the film, because I did enjoy it. But this type of stuff I would rather not watch or rather not support, yet I did, and I did. So do with that as you wish. Go check it out if you want. Don't if you don't want to. And yeah, let's move on to the next one. So I'm going to talk about Top Gun Maverick, but first I want to go over the first one. This movie's bad, and not only because it's 80s military propaganda. That's fine. You can make propaganda as long as the movie is good. The thing is, the movie isn't good. The biggest thing that takes away from Top Gun is the freaking romance story to it. Not only is it jarring, but it just takes away from the overall impact of the movie. If the romance was, however, written well, maybe the film would have more to show or more to give to the audience. but it doesn't. And yes, the flight scenes were incredible for the time. Yes, they were shot well. Yes, the music and the film soundtrack are so good. One thing Top Gun has over other 80s films that are more forgettable is it has the soundtrack and the visuals to stick out from the rest. But the acting is abysmal.
Well, I just happened to see a MiG-28. Wait. Sorry, Goose.
You know, the finger.
It doesn't feel like a film where everything happens for a reason. It just feels like shit happens so that you can go on to the next thing. But then there's like a volleyball scene, which doesn't have anything to do with the rest of the film. Or a scene where they'll just joke or clown around for no apparent reason other than to seem charismatic, yet they aren't. No one in this movie, I give no shits about anyone in this movie, and maybe it's because I didn't grow up with it, maybe nostalgia would have made me like it more, but by itself, I just think it fails completely. And I'm glad people like this movie, but I just couldn't get behind it. I saw the whole thing, and I am very sad to say Top Gun kind of sucks ass. I'm giving it a 3 out of 10. That being said, let's talk about Top Gun Maverick. So after hating Top Gun, I only saw it so I can watch Maverick because everyone was talking about how good that was. Top Gun Maverick is one of those movies that I was sleep deprived when I went to watch it. And I was so sick of what I was watching that I left the theater, got a refund, and went home. That was it. No more movies that day. It was not a good experience. Then I told my mom, and then she was disappointed. And then everyone, including her, everyone was saying that this movie was either awesome or in the least bit good. So some kind of spark of inspiration happened in me. I went back to watch it, and I really liked it. I did not expect to like it. And you know what? Maybe I shouldn't be a movie reviewer because I couldn't even give it a chance the first time. Maybe I should lose all credibility because I didn't get any sleep. But I'm going to be honest, I was wrong. I quite enjoyed Top Gun Maverick. Now, let me say this. I still don't think this movie was really for me. But considering what it is or what it became, it was pretty goddamn entertaining. And for someone who didn't at all like the original, it did so much more to add upon the aspects that I didn't enjoy of the original, especially the acting, the characters, the story, and even the romance. Yes, it was a little cheesy in this one. I would rather it not be there, but it was leagues better than the 1986 film.
I don't normally invite students to my house.
That's what James Franco said.
I was afraid that everyone in that tax trailer would see right through me. And I just don't want anyone to know that I've fallen for you. What is this shit?
It does such a great job at immersing you into the action, or at least me personally, because every scene that involved the flight not only looked incredible on the big screen, but knowing that these actors actually flew into the sky to get these reactions and these shots is fucking insane. Like the movie does such a good job at immersing you into the action, and Tom Cruise knows what he's doing. That's why he releases films like this, or like the Mission Impossible films. But it was crazy, and I really enjoyed the overall feeling that the movie left me with, because it does sort of leave you with that adrenaline. Yes, it's cheesy. Yes, there's the bullshit at the end, but this ending is leagues better than the original film. But again, it has its flaws. It's not the best film I've ever seen. I could see why people do think that way, but I was just surprised. And the fact that I left the movie and came back and watched it and actually enjoyed it is why I'm reacting the way I am. Despite my positivity, I will say the film is a 7 out of 10 for me. It's not the best thing ever, but I'd watch it again. I had a lot of fun watching it in theaters, and it's definitely an experience I'd love to share with other people who did like the original. And it's crazy to think that those people exist, but here they are. Men. Ooh, Alex Garland finally released a new movie with A24, baby. and we got this Men movie. Here's where I'd put Men in his filmography, at least from what I've seen, from best to worst. Ex Machina, Men, and Annihilation. And that's that I still really enjoy Annihilation. But this Men movie is crazy. I will say this is his most aesthetically pleasing film, bar none. Oh my goodness, the shots in this movie were good. But I will say there isn't much of a story, and that's where the film's been mainly criticized for sort of lacking in the department of storytelling. But I don't care. Like the situation, how the character gets there, why the character gets there, the trauma, the weirdness, the bizarreness, the last 20 minutes. It was worth it for me, and I really can't say much about this movie without spoiling it, so I'll just leave it there. If you're in for some fucking weird shit, or if you've seen A24 horror movies and know what you're getting into somewhat, you really aren't with this one, but go ahead and check it out. I thought it was awesome. Again, it was flawed. It was a bit slow at points. There were some moments where I wanted it to continue or go on quicker, but yeah, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. It was really enjoyable. It was really weird. And it really exists. I also got around to finally seeing the new Gaspar Noé film, Vortex. And I kind of have some mixed feelings about it. Now, on the surface level, this is a movie that is super effective. In no way is it enjoyable to watch. In no way is it entertaining. And no way is known for making these sort of different experiences, especially in the cinema, and trying to push his audience to levels of discomfort that are only ever unmatched when it comes to his filmography. In many ways, he's a provocateur, but he likes to give the audience a new and uncomfortable experience, an experience that sometimes we need to experience. And that's sort of why I fell in love with the director and his filmography. It all started with Climax, then I went into films like Enter the Void, Irreversible, and eventually Love. And with this film, he uses a filming technique where he splits the screen and you get to decide who you want to see when you want to see them. And the film is essentially about two lovers in France, a man and a woman who are slowly dying for different reasons, with the man having some sort of heart condition and the woman having some kind of dementia and Alzheimer's. This film is so hard to watch, not only because of the subject matter, but to be honest, there are moments where the movie just feels like it stays on one thing for too long, and rather than feel uncomfortable or intimate, I just kind of felt bored during some of the stuff in the movie. It really was some kind of departure with his normal style and substance way of making films, especially after coming off of a trip like Climax. Yes, this film is much more grounded. This film is much different, and you can tell that he went through a traumatic experience that caused him to make this movie. Early on in the movie, he basically explains what the movie is gonna be, what it's about, what its thesis is, and he incorporates all those in the film along with these incredible actors that he got. But it's just, again, it's one of those movies that does what it wants to successfully, especially considering the difference of the presentation and the story with a theme that is common in most of his movies. I gotta commend him for that. I gotta commend him for doing something new, for trying something. And the film does a successful job in making you feel uncomfortable. But despite the last 20 minutes, which I really did enjoy and which I absolutely loved, the whole film just felt very slow, and who knows, I might enjoy it a lot more on rewatches. Maybe I'll look back at this and cringe, but for now, I left kind of disappointed. And I'm happy to see Gaspar Noé tackling new filming techniques and ways of presenting his stories. Again, this is very much a Gaspar Noé movie. But yeah, I wish that I could say there was more about this that I loved. Maybe I will on the rewatch. But for now, I think it's safe to give it a 6 out of 10. I will leave you with this. If this wasn't a Gaspar Noé movie, I would have walked out and gotten my money back. But luckily I stayed. Luckily, it is one of his movies, and yeah, that's all I can say about it. And finally, the last film I will be talking about is Look at Me, the XXXTentacion documentary that was released on Hulu. So this documentary is really interesting because not only did I grow up with this guy's music and remember listening to it at the age I was, but I remember hearing about the controversies. I remember seeing the events that occurred to his demise. I remember hearing about his death the day it happened. And the fact that this documentary isn't scared to really show the aggressive side and the controversial side of this talent that was taken away too young of an age is incredible. They bring everyone's side to the story in this film, whether it be his friends, his family, his exes. Everyone's voice is used in this movie. And I thought it did such a good job at telling this crazy story. Again, it is somewhat of a difficult experience to watch the film because there's a lot of violent content. There's moments where you literally see self-harm on the screen. And just in an age where someone like this was popular, the film uses archival footage such as old Instagram stories, screen recorded stories, or live streams, or just footage taken from certain events. It is insane that the amount of footage and audio exists to make this documentary as presentable and to tell this story as best as it can. We are living in a day and age where everything and anything could be documented, and the fact that this person, who, whether you hate him or not, is a big deal and a big factor into music that's being made and consumed in this day and age, is incredible. And the documentary knows exactly what it is, what it wants to be, what it wants to present, and it puts it all out there for the audience and lets you choose whether or not you want to forgive him despite his death. And I thought that was an awesome approach to do with the film. I thought it was immensely entertaining. It was really dark at points as well. It's really tough to watch some of the certain scenes in this movie, but it does a great job at telling that true story. And for that, I'm gonna have to give this documentary a very high 8 out of 10. And yes, if you're up for it, or if you can handle the content that's being shown in the film, I would definitely recommend it. It's on Hulu. Go check it out. And I thought it was awesome. And that's it for the video. Those are my opinions of what I thought about each of these films. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Stay safe, stay awesome, and go watch a movie. Later.
Welcome to Ace Rodney Talks with a Superstar.
Yeah, all right.